right, everybody. We're going to get everybody a shh. All right. Make sure you see the monitors.
All right, thank you, Mr. Luna. All right, like I said, welcome to the 5th Gala and Casino Night. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been a long 2 years since we've all been together, and it's so amazing to see everyone back in the same room with smiling faces and a drink in their hand and gambling together. So welcome and thank you again for coming. We really could not do this event or anything we do as a foundation without each and every one of you. So really we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. What you all are part of with this foundation is something that is truly amazing. And tonight we have a presentation where we hope to show you some updates on all the wonderful things that your hard-earned dollars are going towards. So thank you again so much. I want to give a quick shout out to the Gala planning squad. To my right, Anna Schueler, and to my left, Brendan Gary. Without these two, this gala would not be happening, so they have been absolutely amazing putting this all together. And to my right and to my left, I have the board of the 41 and 9 Foundation. To the right, we have the president, Jim Boyle. We have Matt Schueler, Joe Schueler. To our left, we have Ron Gray, Sue Foley, and Chris Dello is somewhere. Also not here tonight is Jacqueline Toops, who we appreciate so much, who sends out most of the emails and communication that you all get. So wonderful board of the 41 and 9 Foundation. And new announcement is we've added some new faces to our board this year. So we started an associate board about 6 months ago, and I'm really happy to announce our 3 newest members of the 41 and 9 Foundation. Eric Walensky, Maddie Bednar, and Billy Boyle. We are really excited to bring some fresh faces, new ideas, and we're confident that they're going to bring a great perspective to the board. So we are really thrilled to have them as part of the foundation. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Brendan.
Thanks, Chief. I'm going to take a moment here to thank all of our sponsors. You guys will see them posted here on the TVs. It's no exaggeration, no cliche to say that this is completely impossible without them. They enable us to cover the costs of the venue, the vendors, the food and drink. In turn, we're able to maximize our fundraising. Sorry, guys. So a huge shout out, bottom of our hearts, to everyone that continues to support. Always blown away by their generosity, loyalty, and overall continued support. And I also want to take a moment, there's 2 people that aren't able to be here with us tonight. With a heavy heart, I want to acknowledge both of them. As many of you know, we lost my grandma, Nana, known affectionately as many of you, as well as my sister Grace's boyfriend, Brian. They've been huge to us. Their support, contributions were unwavering. I know they're here in spirit, and I know that they're having a drink with Hank, watching down on us. So with that, I want to propose a cheers, a toast, everyone raise a glass. Hank, Brian, Nana, we love you guys, we miss you guys. Thank you.
So with that, we're good? Yep. My name is Anna Schueler. I'm Hank's little sister. I know I was joined up here, my brother Joe, my dad, my mom. She made the trip up here. But first, I think that we all need to acknowledge the efforts that Gianna Funkhauser put into this. This is not happening without Gianna, and we're so fortunate to have her. So, and also shout out to our PowerPoint man, Johnny Funkhauser. Huge shout out. So I have the privilege tonight of introducing you, or reintroducing you to 2 remarkable young women. The first would be Kate Winterkamp. So some of you created the bike ride this past June. You heard from Kate. So Kate is a 6-year-old from Los Angeles. Her aunt wrote to my dad in December of 2018 with the subject line of please help. So Kate was diagnosed with ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and she unfortunately was then diagnosed with mucormycosis. So as some of you, or maybe all of you may know, our foundation supports both Dr. Thomas Walsh at Cornell, and he is the infectious disease and the Henry Schueler Scholar, and he particularly focuses on mucormycosis. So mucormycosis was unfortunately a disease that did take Henry's life. And then we also support Dr. Charles Mulligan, our keynote speaker tonight, so you'll hear a lot about him and his research and his efforts for type of diploid acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It's a long word. So we heard from Kate. Kate unfortunately was in the hospital, and she was diagnosed with mucormycosis, like I said, and her doctors seemed to be chasing it rather than getting ahead of it. And unfortunately, my dad was able to put her in contact with Dr. Walsh. Dr. Walsh is in New York, she's in Los Angeles. And he was able to work with her doctors, and they came up with a plan, and I think this is probably a good time to share the update on Kate.
And a special thanks to Dr. Wolf for all of your help and support through all of Kate's treatment. And 1 year after chemo, and I did soccer. I was going to make it to the playoff, but then we lost. Then I started doing hip hop. My sister probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of your guys' hard work over there at the Schueler Foundation. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and also thank you to anyone else that is supporting the Schueler Foundation. It really means a lot and helps a lot of people. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.
Well, let me just sit. Can you guys hear some of what I'm saying right now? All right. We can. Okay. Well, I'll just relay it to the back. Well, the next video we're going to show, so obviously that's an update on Kate. We did invite her to be here this weekend. She is skiing, so that's pretty awesome too. So she is 1 year.
So obviously Kate is 1 year in remission, and it's so good to see obviously her thriving. And her brother Danny, I mean, he's like, what is he, 10? He's awesome. Yeah, he's great. So the next video we're going to show you, and it'll lead into Dr. Mulligan, who's our keynote speaker, as I said. So Molly was diagnosed with ALL in 2014. She was, I believe, a freshman in high school. So through our research and our support with Dr. Mulligan, her entire treatment process was changed versus what Henry experienced in 2007. So obviously Molly is now a junior or senior at Lebanon College studying physical therapy, and she has a note to share with you guys.
Hi everyone, I was so honored to be invited to this event and wish I could have been there with you all. My name is Molly Kukta, and I'm currently in my 5th year as a physical therapy student at Lebanon Valley College. I was diagnosed with hypodiploid ALL in 2014, and my parents were grasping for any information or research that they could find to help make important decisions regarding my course of treatment. Throughout their search, my dad came across the Henry Schueler 41 and 9 Foundation and their amazing work they were doing with Dr. Charles Mulligan at St. Jude's. He ended up reaching out to them in order to get more information and guidance that my oncologists were unable to give. Hank's story and legacy have profoundly affected our whole family. The research article by Dr. Mulligan that the 41 and 9 Foundation supported was pivotal in deciding the course of therapy that I would receive. Throughout this process, my family realized that there was such a need for better treatment options and research for hypodiploid ALL. We have now created the Molly Strong Foundation that has been successful in raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, and with the help of the Henry Schueler 41 and 9 Foundation, we've been able to direct those funds directly to the Mulligan Lab, where important research continues to be done. I'll forever be appreciative of the Henry Schueler 41 and 9 Foundation and the opportunities it has provided us to further research for hypodiploid ALL, help others, and carry Hank's legacy on. Thank you.
So in June or July of 2021, Molly was officially 5 years in remission, so she's cancer-free.
Thank you everybody again for being here. It's great to see everybody after a long 2 years. I know you're all excited to be here, and we're very excited to have you as well as our guest speaker.
Before I introduce him, let me just say that there's not a better segue into what Dr. Mulligan has done in St. Jude's than to hear from somebody like Molly Kupta, whose course of treatment was changed so dramatically because of the work that we supported and that Dr. Mulligan has done at St. Jude. It's absolutely incredible, and obviously we're very proud to have examples like this so that you all see where your efforts and your money goes directly to research, not admin costs, to people that are doing the work to change people's lives. So before I introduce our guest speaker tonight, as well as our other honored guest, I just want to remind you a little bit of how this all started. So you may recall from some of my prior comments that before Hank passed away, he told us that he wanted to find out why this happened to him so that he could help prevent it from happening to other kids. And that living wish has truly inspired us. And a number of us, after Hank passed away, were mobilized to make a difference and keep his name alive forever. And we went to see the only doctor in 2007 that had ever written on hypodiploid that we could find, Dr. James Nachman at the University of Chicago. And we had seen Dr. Nachman as a consultant during Hank's treatment right before his bone marrow transplant. And he had really nothing to offer us. It was a very poorly understood leukemia, and the best course of treatment from all the physicians we saw was to have a bone marrow transplant. It is barbaric treatment, but it was his best option. When we went to see Dr. Nachman after Hank passed away, he referred us to Dr. Stephen Hunger, the chair of the oncology group for ALL leukemia, which is the most common form of pediatric leukemia. Dr. Hunger is a very distinguished researcher and nationally known physician as well, and he's currently chair at CHOP Hospital, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Dr. Hunger was aware of Dr. Mulligan and the wonderful work that they were doing at the Mulligan lab at St. Jude's. And he referred us to Charles back in 2009, and we began a relationship with him. In 2009, we made our first donation to Dr. Mulligan of $4,000. By 2012, we had endowed a full-time clinical researcher in the Mulligan lab that studies hypodiploid and other high-risk leukemias. The current position is held by Pankaj Gate, who has been there and has been of great assistance to Dr. Mulligan, as I'm sure you will hear. Since 2009, we have donated $796,000 to St. Jude. And specifically to the Mulligan lab. And I think that's really important for everybody that's here and has given us so much over the years to know that the money that you guys spend, hopefully to have a good time as well, really goes to research. And I think you'll feel the import of that after you hear Dr. Mulligan speak. With that preface, I do want to tell you it is my honor to introduce you to our two honored guests tonight. First, Dr. Catherine Roberts from St. Jude, and her husband, Dr. Charles Mulligan, also from St. Jude's Research Hospital, two of the world's leading researchers into pediatric leukemia, particularly ALL. Dr. Catherine Roberts is a native of Newcastle, Australia, and is currently Director of Research Operations in the Department of Pathology of St. Jude. She pursued her undergraduate and graduate studies at the University of Newcastle in Australia. As a postdoctoral fellow at St. Jude, her work focused on PH-like ALL, which is the form of cancer, the basic form of cancer that Hank and most children have, in which she led two key studies showing that newly identified kinase gene alterations drive the development of leukemia and may be treated with currently available kinase inhibitors. This work was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, amongst other journals, and and led the implementation of genome sequencing and diagnosis in ALL and in clinical trials of kinase inhibitors, which are much less toxic than normal chemotherapy in PH-like ALL. She is internationally recognized as an expert in the genomics of ALL and has received numerous awards from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and the American Society of Hematology. Though she won't speak tonight, I wanted you all to know that she is here, and we are grateful for her research and the talents that she brings. Our keynote speaker tonight is Dr. Charles Mulligan of the Mulligan Lab. Dr. Mulligan is the Deputy Director of the Cancer Center and a member of the Department of Pathology at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Born and raised in Adelaide, Australia, his medical and hematology training was in Adelaide with doctoral research in Oxford. He joined St. Jude for postdoctoral research and became faculty in 2008. His research addresses the question of how genetic changes drive high-risk leukemia and how these insights can be advanced to the clinic. Much of his research is focused on defining the genetics of high-risk ALL, like hypodiploid, and developing better models of ALL to develop and test new therapeutic approaches. In addition to his role as Deputy Director of the Comprehensive Cancer Center, he is the co-leader of the Hematological Malignancies Program. He's the Medical Director of the St. Jude Biorepository, and he's also the William Evans Endowed Scholar Chair at St. Jude's. He is internationally recognized and has received, among other honors, the National Cancer Institute Outstanding Investigator Award, the American Society of Hematology Prize, the St. Baldrick Scholar Foundation Innovation Award inaugural recipient. He's an elected member of the American Association of Physicians. He's a fellow of the Australian Academy of Health and Medical Sciences. Other than that, he doesn't do a lot. So it is my great pleasure to introduce to all of you tonight, Dr. Charles Mulligan.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everyone. You have to forgive me if I'm a little rusty. It's been a little while since I've worn a jacket in front of more than 10 people in a socially distanced mask. So welcome and thank you for having us here. So to Matt, your family, to Susan, to Anna, to Joe, Gianna and the board, thank you so much for welcoming us here tonight to this special event of yours. It's a real pleasure and honour for us to be here and share this with you. And as I look back, I can't believe it's been, as you introduced that, it's been over a decade now, really 13 years since we first made each other's acquaintance, and began with fairly small steps, I think, at first, that have become, I'd like to say, truly impactful in the field. Excuse me. So tonight, just over the next 50, 60 minutes or so, I promise no longer, I just wanted to perhaps touch on 3 areas where I think the foundation through our lab has been impactful and has made or enabled some major discoveries in the field, both hypodiploid ALL and beyond. So the first of these, I'll just mention 3. The first of these is what I would call discovery. And this really began, as Matt was mentioning, back in a time when we didn't know a lot about the genetics of leukemia. We knew that leukemia, like most cancer, is a genetic disease. There was an awful lot to be learned. There were very few targeted treatments, none really. Treatment was toxic. Almost half of children didn't have a non-genetic basis for the disease. And this is really what drove me when I was training in hematology in Australia to pursue this line of research. It was not easy when we started working in hypodiploid leukemia. Sequencing is pretty routine now. You may have been exposed to it yourself or with your family or loved ones. But back then it wasn't. It was expensive, it was difficult to analyse. But we did with Matt's support and the Foundation's support, we made the decision to try and address hypodiploid leukemia and understand what made it different, and perhaps what made it so much worse than many other forms of childhood ALL, which for most children are curable. And I think it was successful, and it was successful in a couple of ways. Some were pretty immediate. So for example, we found that about half of children with hypodiploid leukemia actually had an inherited predisposition. So that led very quickly to a test that could be done when a leukemia is first diagnosed, and that's now routine. The second thing I think about that is that we began to understand that not every child with hyperdiploid leukemia had the same leukemia. There was actually a lot of nuance and texture in the genetics of the disease, and this is really the sort of thing that drives the lab. And it remains an ongoing odyssey for us to understand why these missteps in the cell's genetic makeup turn a normal cell into a cancer cell, and it's an ongoing story. The second story I would give you is what I call translation, and that is how we take initial discoveries through to the clinic. And as part of the initial work we did, we understood we really didn't have good approaches or what I call models to study the disease. We didn't have good ways of growing the leukemic cells, to start to interfere with them, to test them with drugs and so forth. And again, it was really with the foundation's support that we were able to start to do this systematically. That we could take leukemia cells from patients, paradoxically if you like, they unfortunately grow well in people, but they don't grow well outside of people. We started to establish models of them. And that has, from that kind of acorn, if you like, it's become a tree where we now have over 300 different models of leukemia, hyperdiploid and others, the largest resource in the world, and we distribute these all around the world. And it really enabled us to start to test certain things that might work in hyperdiploid leukemia. And so one of these made it all the way. And so we, with collaborations, we found that a drug that was initially approved for leukemia that's used in older individuals, a leukemia called chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a drug called venetoclax had been licensed and was just starting to show some suggestions that might actually work in some patients with ALL. And so we tested this in hyperdiploid leukemia. We found that hyperdiploid leukemia was the form of ALL that was most responsive to this drug. And last year, the first study testing venetoclax was published. It showed that 3/4 of children with very heavily treated leukemia that had often been through transplants, CAR T-cell therapy and other treatments, but 3/4 of them would respond, and in fact hyperdiploid ALL was included in that study. So I think that is a great success story and wasn't possible without the work of the foundation, so congratulations. And the third thing I would give you is, I guess, what I would call off-piste, and that is, we started going down the blue run, if you like, with hyperdiploid leukemia, although I was falling over a lot, as I do. We knew there was a lot more to be learned about many other types of leukemia that pose their own challenges, much as hyperdiploid ALL did. And Matt, I think I would say to his credit, and the board gave us enormous flexibility in what we could do. It's the nature of the work we do in the lab. We find things, we come up with new techniques, new challenges, and we need to do something that we hadn't initially planned for. And the foundation has allowed us to take those directions and make those gambles, and sometimes, as we probably find out tonight, they pay off. And that's led to a number of publications that are actually not related to hyperdiploid leukemia, but I would summarise that perhaps 2/3 of the major studies that come out of the Mulligan lab have been in part substantially funded by the foundation, and many of the discoveries of those studies have also had major impacts in how we understand leukemia, how it can be diagnosed better, and how it can be treated. So finally, what about the future? Where do we go from here? And we're not done. We'll perhaps never be done. There's always something we can do better. I think we've started to make the first inroads into hyperdiploid leukemia. Yes, it's been a decade, but these things do take time. It can be frustrating, but it is a long road. We found perhaps the first therapeutic. We know that resistance will be acquired, and so we have an active program understanding now what will be the mechanisms to which these new drugs might become resistant to, and how might we circumvent that. And we started to take an entirely new approach to try and understand what might be the next generation of therapeutic approaches in hyperdiploid leukemia. There are new genomic technologies I'm happy to talk to you about for an extended period of time in a Q&A session if you like. And so now is actually the right time to do this with vigour in this disease, and this is the next approach that we're pursuing in the lab. So there I'll stop, and again, this has been truly humbling that the journey we've been on together. I hope we'll stay on together for some time. To be here tonight, and I hope you'll realise that the contribution you're making matters. It's important. It is truly making a difference, and so I thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you all for your attention. Before I lose you, I also want to make sure that Dr. Mulligan does not go back to Memphis and to St. Jude empty-handed. So I'm very proud to announce to all of you the largest single donation that the Henry Schueler 41 and On Foundation has ever made. It's special for a number of reasons. It has been contributed, we've received contributions from other foundations whose children, like Molly, have also gone through a horrible disease like hypodiploid and that were benefited by what they learned. And also a foundation in Jacksonville, Florida called Joe Strong, and unfortunately lost their son to the same disease. But Dr. Mulligan, we're so proud of everything you've done in Henry's name and our foundation's name. On behalf of the foundation, my family, and all of you here, we are proud to give you a check for $204,000. As you might know, of course there's a 419 at the end of it, so it's a little bit of an odd number, but it puts us over the $1 billion in donations. As I hope you can pick up from what Dr. Mulligan has told us, he is truly making a difference in the world. Thank you all for being part of that.
Thank you so much for listening to the presentation tonight, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. The after party will be at Hubbard Inn when we close it out at Ace Bounce. Have a wonderful time. Thank you so much.